Charlie Matthew Malcolm with Vegetables West magazine, reporting to you here today with Mike Montna, president of the California Tomato Growers Association. They had their annual meeting here today in Modesto, giving growers an update on how things went for this past season. We had some troubles with the hail in the spring, and obviously always have something going on every year, right? That's agriculture.
That's
But wanted to talk about the current economics of the market conditions for the tomato industry. We recently heard from USDA about what's the projected acreage going in this season. So I wanted to hear a little bit about that, what your thoughts are on the estimate, and what growers should know moving forward.
No, I think due to the changing currency with the dollar versus the euro, we've seen inventories growing since basically 2014 and been stuck in that kind of position. We've had 2 crops out of the last 3 years that have been lower than the estimate. So really, we've balanced the inventory off short crops.
Not intentionally.
And yeah, not intentionally, but that's generally how one of the ways that a market gets into balance is Mother Nature thins it out for you a little bit. So now we've entered this period where we have a 12 million ton estimate. We're going to have lower inventories than we have had since I think about 2014. So we're in a position to where I think the industry is kind of saying, we need to be in supply and demand. It needs to be balanced. We need to move this thing forward for the industry's sake, not just growers or processors, but we've been kind of both sides have been, I think, selling at a level that has reflected the high inventory overcapacity situation, and we've seen some changes in both of those, and it's time to kind of turn the corner into a little more healthy market, I think.
That's good. That's great. And what are you guys are going through price negotiations for the coming crop? So where do we stand as far as that? Are we expecting something better?
No, I think better in the fact that we're looking for a price that kind of reflects the risk associated with growing tomatoes, the cost. Like I said, we had 2 out of the last 3 years that have been a low tons per acre, and that's low return to the grower, while at the same time seeing higher costs and flat yields. Every day I think they try to do stuff that most efficiently spend the least amount and get the highest yields possible. But we're kind of at a limit at what we can do there because Mother Nature does play such a big part of it. So we're looking at getting a cost that just kind of reflects the changes. I look at some of it that we have a lot of what I call deferred maintenance that's been happening on the ranches, and a lot of it is some of the legislation that's been passed, and it's it's important, I think, for us to it's not that we want to pay our employees more. I think everyone that we know how important they are to our ranches, our locations. Some of their families have been on the ranch for a generation or two. We want to pay them more. We want to get cleaner burning tractors and do all these other things with our soil. We're happy to do it because that land is their asset. That's what they hand down to the next generation. So it's something I think they feel very passionately about, and we want to do it. But it comes at a cost. And that's kind of what we're real. I mean, we knew it was coming. We knew that what the impacts were. I think as just like anything else, as you start going through it, you learn a little bit more what you can and can't adjust, what you can and can't live with, as far as hours, things you might say we don't need to do that anymore. But really, and the reality is we are already doing things pretty thin, as cheaply as we could before. So now,
as a farmer said once, it's hard to go green when you're in the red.
Yeah, so we're looking at it from a perspective of, we want, to pay our people more. We want to, do that, but we can't have throwback Thursdays, in pricing at the supermarket, right? I mean, if we want this to be the model for agriculture here in California, there needs to be an electorate that purchases with the same way they vote.
Yeah, and that makes it really difficult because this is an international market, so you can't really just raise prices.
Well, I will say 96% of the domestic tomatoes come from California. So if you're passionate about, wanting to support an industry that lives by certain standards, and you like the standards that are here in California, what we're doing, come have some more processed tomatoes.
Right, right. Right, and you mentioned the risks associated with agriculture. One of those, it may not be for a lot of people, but for some people, broom rape. That.
Yeah, broom rape's an issue. It's been around for a while. It's something that can basically you end up taking a full loss if you have it for the season if it's found. Mm-hmm. Currently it's not an insurable claim. We're working with risk management agency at the USDA, to try to, have insurance that makes sense. I think they've always been very helpful in working with us. We recognize that we want our insurance programs to be a safety net, not a hammock. We're not looking for a program that just we're using all the time. We want programs that if we stumble, it catches us and allows us to keep walking the next season. So I think we're hopeful that we can get some movement on that in the next year or so. We feel pretty positive that it's pointing in the right direction. And, the tomato growers have been pretty good, like I said, about using it for how it was intended. So we get a lot of positive responses when we do say, hey, we need a little help. We need some adjustment. So I feel good about that.
Great. Well, we appreciate the work of the California Tomato Growers Association, and, whether it's an invasive weed like broom rape or pests and diseases. We've weathered the storm in the past as farmers, and we wish you the best of season moving forward, and hopefully things will turn out just fine. Read more about these things in Vegetables West magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.